Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Ice Cave Radio. What is this, like episode 58, 59? I don't even know. It's in the description. You know what it is. You probably know better than me, Charmer. I'm terrible with math, and that includes basic counting. I can't add one number. I can't add one to a number each week. That's how rough it is for me in the numbers world. How about you?
It is 58.
58.
But also,
there we go.
Also, I only know that because I have a thing that tells me, and if it were not for that, I would not know it off the top of my head.
Yeah.
It is over a year. I know that we have bbeen at this for over a year at this point, which is still kind of mind-boggling for me. But
it is, right? I mean, we've been doing this longer than the game has been out, and it's been a ton of fun. I don't think we're gonna slow down anytime soon. In fact, we might even speed up a little bit. We've got an announcement of an announcement. Just making it a very esports fashion. I guess last week we did an announcement of announcement. This is a more solid announcement of an announcement, but our announcement is going to come with an announcement on the Discord at the same time that you're seeing this. That will have more info on the announcement. So get ready for that later in the show. But before that, you went to Gen Con this weekend. How was this last weekend? How was your experience there?
My experience at Gen Con was mostly fantastic. All of my time playing Star Wars was great. All of the folks from FFG were as wonderful as always. It was nice to see Xander and Jim and Tyler and Danny and everybody. Some new faces, at least for me as well. But the downside, right? So the creator event was great. Had a lot of fun playing Twin Suns. I need to give credit where credit is due. I have not yet told you this. I was waiting until we were recording. I had several people say, "Hey, I love your shirt. Hey, where can I get that shirt? Is that something you do?" So Twin Suns casual shirt was a big win.
Awesome.
And
great to hear it.
And I just want everyone to know, because again, credit where credit is due, that is Doa's design, so all credit goes to him. But I did wear it on the day that we played our Twin Suns pod. I did not win that pod. My son was actually in the Kingmaker position, so essentially whoever he attacked was going to lose. And he said, "Hey Dad, if I had played a chopper this game, would you have attacked it?" And I know exactly where he's going with this, because Chopper's his favorite character. So I looked him dead in the eye and I said, "Of course I will." And then he attacked me and I didn't win. But again, you're keeping Twin Suns casual, so it is what it is. And I had a good time playing. The parts that were negative, one, I had a wonderful, I mean, absolutely phenomenal interview with John Leo. And the downside is that my recording cut off about halfway through. I'm still trying to see exactly how much I can salvage. I ran out of recording space on my laptop, and I'm supposed to have a backup, right? I use these Rode Wireless Go mics that are supposed to auto record, but there was a Rode firmware update that I had done at my Airbnb the night before, and it wiped my settings. So instead of always recording, I had it set to the firmware update set it to where you have to hit a button to start, and I didn't hit the button because I didn't know that I needed to do that to start it. So
nice.
The audio is not there. Hoping that I can connect with him and we can just do something virtually, because it was a phenomenal interview and I had a ton of fun talking to him. But yeah, that's one of the negatives. The other negative, of course, is that I did not get any of the Gen Con exclusive promos. There was essentially like a lottery thing every day where you have to use the Gen Con site to see if you got the tickets to be allowed to purchase one. I tried diligently every day, but I did not get any. Community member, a wonderful human being, Main Deck Dan, I know he got some because I saw him in line when I was at the Asmodee section. He looked at me and he gave me the point like, "Hey, are you here to get the same thing I am?" And I was like, "No, I was buying a different game, actually. It was a Star Wars Bounty Hunters game that is it's a drafting game. Stark and I demoed that, and it was actually a lot of fun. Like, it's a great party game. You don't even have to be a Star Wars fan. Simple mechanics. Once you pick it up, very easy to play. Games went pretty fast. I really enjoyed it. So we picked that up while we were there, but no, I know Main Deck Dan got one. Nobody else I know, personally anyway, got one. So a little bit sad.
That is sad. At least in the case of those, we're talking alternate arts. We're not talking about something that's going to prevent you from playing the game better and all that.
You know,
okay.
I disagree because
Yeah.
I would personally play better knowing that I had, you know, extra dark side characters. It's just a mental thing.
I'm just
I just wanted a set for my master set. That's all.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm kind of like, if I have an opportunity to pick up some alternate arts, sure, that's cool. But I'm not as into it than a lot of other people. Like for me, like opening alternate arts and packs and things like that across games, like, oh sweet, I can trade this for more cards, so I can make more decks. You know, so that's you know, that type of thing isn't really as interesting to me. I'm a collector, but I'm not like a completionist collector, if that makes sense. You know. That said, I was talking to some of my friends from other games that were there, and one of them said, "Hey, one of my friends was there, and he picked up like 4 of these like Grogu cards. Do you want those?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, of course," you know, because I didn't get to go, you know. So apparently he's got 4, and they're signed too. He sent me a picture, and they're signed by like Danny and Tyler and stuff, and I think John must have signed one of those too. But I thought that was funny. That I don't know how this guy ended up getting them, but he was just like, oh, I don't play this game. Were they just giving them away? Like how did that happen?
No. It's so. Unless it was something that was like on the last day and then they started to be generous, or maybe there was something that they were doing at the actual booth. So I will say at the Learn to Play like booth area in the exhibit hall, Stark and I did not go through that because we didn't want to take the space from people that were genuinely trying to learn to play.
Yeah.
In the event hall, you only got a Grogu if you played in like one of the events. So Stark and I got one when we played the Twin Sons. But we did not get them otherwise. So maybe it was from
they must have done the
demos in
Learn to Play
hall.
Yeah, must have been done Learn to Play or something like that. Because I know a lot of them are interested in the game, but just haven't like dove in completely yet. So I think there was a lot of trying it out. But yeah, so apparently he's got 4 of them that he's going to give me when I see him this weekend. So if he does, if there really are 4 of them, then that means I will have an extra one, and that means we'll find a way to give it away on this show. Again, like I think he's got 4. If that's the case, and I have an extra one, then we'll give it away.
I only have 1. I was gonna see how I could try to get 2 more, so I had a play set. But I also have to find
moving on.
Gen Con exclusives. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was funny because I would love to make it to more of these events, but this year it's been tough to get out. I've done a lot of moving and things already this year, so my time is definitely a little bit more cramped than it is in past years. But hopefully in the future I'll be able to get to more of these conventions and things. But sounded like it was a good time from a hanging out and player perspective at the very least. And you know, on top of that, we got some reveals from Twilight of the Republic, too, and we're going to talk about those a little bit later. I did a video on the channel a couple days ago, or a week ago, I suppose, now, if you're watching this on a Friday or Saturday. But we're gonna touch on those again, just kind of review a little bit. We want Charmer's take on that, obviously. But before that, we have to get to a cave poll, don't we? Yeah, that's right. So let's go to our cave poll. And the question was, where would you live if you moved to a galaxy far, far away? Here's the results right off the bat. What did you choose, Charmer? Or if you had voted, what would you have chosen? Because I know you were traveling, so I don't know if you actually got a chance to vote in this one.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. I know that I didn't get a chance to vote based on the results here, but also...
So it would have been one of the ones that didn't get picked.
It would have been one of the ones that got no votes.
Can I guess? Can I guess which one you would have picked?
I think you already know, but sure, go ahead. What do you think I would have selected?
No, this is like the dating game or something where it's like we see how well I know Charmer. Now I'm kind of afraid to get it wrong. Well, so I think Hoth is out because you already live in Michigan, so you already kind of get the Hoth experience a little bit. Tatooine would be the farthest from that in terms of a desert planet. Mustafar, you know, you can be kind of, you know, edgy and stuff, dark sometimes. So maybe there's a Mustafar side to you, I don't know. But then Kamino, you know, Kamino has the clones. It's got the Clone Wars connection. You know, I'm going to go Kamino. Would you have picked Kamino? Am I wrong?
I would have not. Believe it or not, that would have been my second pick. So you're not
okay.
far
I was
off.
close. Okay, I got it.
I would have enjoyed Camino because I love seafood, but no, it's actually Hoth. Even though I live in Michigan, I like the cold. I would rather be cold and get warm than the alternative. I like the peacefulness, the special kind of silence that comes with a fresh snow. And I know it's because it has a very specific effect that the falling snow has on sound and how it, travels and etc. But
I hear that.
To me, there are very few things that I enjoy more than like just the dead quiet of a fresh snow. And I would get that all the time on Hoth. Also, we're Ice Cave Radio for a reason, and I don't want to give that up. So I gotta make sure that I'm picking that. But yeah, I did not get a chance to select it because even though there was internet there at Gen Con itself, as you can imagine, with that many people, the event was sold out every day. So they were at max capacity for the entire convention all weekend long. It wasn't super stable, so I did not spend a lot of time on my phone or socials or anything. That's sadly, if you were following me hoping that you were going to see like cool updates, I think I posted like twice, but a lot of that had to do with limited accessibility.
We are just so bad at this social media thing. We need to get better. We need a TikTok. We need to jump on all that stuff. But one thing at a time, I suppose. But
I can do the dance.
Oh, I don't know any of those dances. Great. Well, we'll have you handle the dancing side of the content. That's good to know. We've got that taken care of now, apparently. But I was surprised about the results. I know Naboo is a popular destination, right? Ever since the separatist thing calmed down, it's a very idyllic kind of planet. But I wasn't expecting a full, near half of the votes to be Naboo. To me, it seems like the most kind of like boring place to go. So I didn't pick it. But what do you think about this?
I'm less surprised now that I have started reading some of the novels, specifically like the High Republic stuff, because they do kind of talk the planet up about how it's a place where like the wealthy go, right? So it's like Florida.
Like a country club.
Wasn't Florida, right? Yeah, a country club is a good thing.
That doesn't appeal to me at all. That's like the last place I want to go.
In one of, I think it's the first book of the High Republic series, actually, they talk about how there on Naboo, there's an island where artists go to just be creative, but then like all the art that they make there never leaves the island. So it's like this kind of mysterious thing where like, if you're an artistic genius, you can go there and appreciate it, but you have to be there to experience it. I don't know.
I mean, that's kind of a neat idea.
It's hyped up a lot, I think, in the novels, and it's also just like the most green without being dingy is the other way I'll describe it, right? Because some of these other choices, like Dagobah, I think is cool. Kashyyyk is cool, but Kashyyyk has more of like a rustic feel, and Dagobah's kind of got that swampy feel. Whereas, like, if you think about like, hey, I want to go to some place that's beautiful and looks like the Swiss Alps, that's Naboo.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, we had 10 votes for Coruscant, our second choice, and I appreciate that. I didn't vote for Coruscant either, actually, even though, I feel like after living in Seoul, South Korea for a number of years, I feel like I lived on Coruscant because that's just like towering buildings, everywhere you walk, great public transportation, great food, people from everywhere. It's awesome. But so I kind of feel like I've kind of lived there already a little bit. Kashyyyk, I grew up in the woods in Wisconsin, so I kind of done that thing too, along with the Hoth in Minnesota. Corellia just seems kind of grimy. I don't know if I'd want to live in Corellia, but I picked Bespin. I was one of the two people that picked Bespin because you've got the comfortable, clean urban environment, right? But it looks very very clean and neat and tidy on the inside. But yet you can be out there, flying your cloud car around in the sky. That's kind of nice and scenic, and I would imagine they've got lots of amenities in Bespin. They're essentially oil rich, right? The gas is the Bespin gas is very valuable, so it's a very affluent kind of place to be. So I wouldn't mind that. So yeah, I think it's okay. Dagobah, Yavin, Death Star all got one vote. I did put the Death Star on there because it's like, yeah, it's not a planet, but it is like a destination you could possibly want to live. You'd have to be in the Empire, but hey, somebody out there would love to live on the Death Star. So
that is actually kind of a funny thought.
I bet they have like decent gyms.
Well, sure, but you just said you'd have to be part of the Empire, but
yeah.
What if like there was a story about somebody who is essentially a stowaway on the Death Star, right? Like they're a hobo that was just hopping from ship to ship, and then they ended up on the Death Star. And it's just a story about how they live in a space, but they try to, evade and avoid people the entire time. I know that there are stories, granted, they're like terrifying stories for me, but I know that there are stories of people who like live in people's attics without the people knowing, and then they come down at night eating their food. So like I'm imagining that, but at the Death Star,
it's like Parasite,
Yeah, some riffraff just. Oh yeah, Parasite for sure.
Great movie.
Or the from my youth, The People Under the Stairs. That was another one. So I don't know why I find it so funny, but the idea of somebody just hitching a ride on the Death Star is kind of tickling me right now.
See, that's a great idea. You just have to find a reason for them to get off before it explodes, or maybe it just does explode and they were like, well, I shouldn't have picked this place, I guess. But
listen, Rogue One has taught me that not every Star Wars story needs a happy ending.
That's true. That's a good point. I feel like a lot of shows don't have happy endings for me anyway. So there's that too. But moving on, that's our cave poll of the week. We try to put those out every Sunday, so you can go and vote in that. We try to make it fun. It's been very game related lately, very very Star Wars Unlimited related. So I wanted to do one that was more just like for fun Star Wars related. We haven't done one in a while, so fun to see the results on this one. And it's gonna be fun to talk about our next segment as well. Again, let's talk about the previews from Gen Con, and let's go through it real quick. I already put out the video, of course, about this a little bit with my thoughts on it, but I want to know about your thoughts. So let's start off with Ahsoka Tano and her ability, and then we'll jump right to her starter cards as well. So give me your take on Ahsoka.
I think that on the surface, she has some potential for being similar to what Sabine is, where instead of being a direct damage leader, she's a more swarm leader. Sure. Obviously, coordinate is implying you want a bunch of units on the board. But the fact that Ahsoka is already in aggression and she's going to reward you for playing a bunch of units. She's got a low deploy cost at 5. It's not 4 like Sabine, but she makes up for that by being a little bit sturdier and potentially swings for more if you've got coordinate active. Obviously, the 5-6 stat line is pretty nice.
Yeah.
So I think that there is potential there, but I'm leaning toward not as powerful as a Sabine, because there's something really impactful about having just on-demand damage as opposed to having to have a unit survive. Whether or not she ends up being decent, I think will largely depend on how many units make other units for you.
Right.
And I know that some of the stuff that was revealed includes cards that make tokens. So I think that's going to be a big part of her play style.
We can take a look at those too. Let's take a look at the starter cards here. We have the new tokens, the Clone Trooper and the Battle Droid tokens. Clone Trooper's a 2/2.
So, I was going to say, if you're not familiar, the Battle Droid is a 0 cost 1/1 token. The Clone Trooper is a 0 cost 2/2 token. And that leads me to something that I was saying to Doa before we started recording. Captain Rex is really strong, I think. Of the cards that was revealed from the announcement, I think Captain Rex at least has the base potential to be the strongest. 6 cost ground unit, heroism, command, Republic Clone Trooper, 4/4 body, but when played, create 2 Clone Trooper tokens. So yes, it's not a big tall unit, but you get an 8/8 worth of stats between the 4/4 and then 2/2/2s. And then you also not only turn on coordinate because you have 3 bodies, but even if somebody removes Captain Rex, the 2 tokens left behind will still activate coordinate for other units because it's going to be that unit plus the 2 tokens. So a lot of potential there for coordinate decks. But the other thing that jumps out to me is the fact that, he's a trooper and a clone. I think that those are things that are going to start mattering a lot more in the next set. So I'm looking at his traits as well, and I'm just seeing a lot of power.
Well, it's cool to see some trooper support coming up, because that was a big keyword in set 1. So this is going to be something that potentially synergizes with some set 1 stuff as well. So that'll be interesting. Coordinate. the question remains, how easy is it going to be to get online and keep online? I think that's where the crux of it is. And then what sort of lower cost options are we going to have to make tokens to try to get that online earlier? Because something like the 330-second Stalwart, it has Coordinate, it becomes a 2-3. But if you're playing it super early in the game, how quickly are you going to be able to get that 1-1 in stats? If you're playing it late in the game, it's not going to be worth it. So, it might just be one of those very starter-esque starter cards. But I said I felt like Ahsoka's ability and then some of the cards we saw, it looks like a good jumping in point for people with the game. And I think that's the important thing is that it's an ability that people can use right away, and then have it forces you to think about your decisions in the game, because now you're like, all right, well, I'm much more incentivized to think about ordering, think about my board state when I need to have 3 things alive. And so I think it enforces good mechanics as a new player. So that and also Grievous, who we'll jump to next, is the same way, where I think the ability to give something Sentinel and then later, your droids have +1, I think is a great way to have a new player think more about ordering specifically. Like, okay, when is a good time to give one of my units Sentinel? When am I going to need that to protect a unit, to protect myself? So simple mechanics that enforce good play habits, I think is the theme for starters in this game. And I think both of these leaders execute on that pretty well.
Yeah, General Grievous in particular stands out to me because he also, in a way, teaches the player the importance of the initiative token. Because a traditional play pattern of I have to play a unit and then I activate my leader to give it Sentinel means that there is room for the opposing player to take actions in between, right?
Right.
You play a droid, they attack you, then you give Sentinel. Well, if that was the attack you wanted to stop, not a really helpful plan of attack, but you already have a unit and then you take the initiative and then you can just give it Sentinel for the phase, then you're potentially making your opponent play around that, et cetera, et cetera. So I think you're right. You've hit the nail right on the head here. It is, I think, great for teaching new players the kind of core mechanics and the ebb and the flow of the game.
Yeah, for sure. Let's check out his starter cards as well real quick. We'll do that. There we go. And some interesting stuff, including the one of the commons had exploit. That's where we saw that. But it's neat to see things like the battle droid escort being able to make tokens, and then you can give one of those tokens taunt to kind of just put all these chump blockers in front of things. I like that idea with General Grievous.
Yeah, he's great at sacrificing some extra scrap metal to protect himself.
Yeah.
Same thing with General's Guardian, where he is going to create a battle droid token when he's attacked. And then again, follow up, future turns, you can give that token the Sentinel, like you were saying. So a lot of flexibility here. I also just really like the Separatist Commando because it is a very aggressive unit that is kind of rewarding you for building around Separatists. And again, if you're talking about teaching new players, giving them something where they're now, reading the traits on their card beyond droid is another win, in my opinion.
For sure. I like the way it synergizes too as we jump over to the commons. You can see the tokens on the right side, but it synergizes with like the Hailfire tank specifically. You can use the escort, get those tokens, and then you can sacrifice a couple of tokens to the new keyword exploit to suddenly make your 7/6 come in for 4. And even though it is essentially a vanilla 7/6, being able to play it that much stats for 4 resources is pretty crazy. In fact, it's interesting because you think about this and you're like, oh, this is very strong. Thankfully, cards like Fell the Dragon exist, so they play on 4 their 7/6. You play on 4 Fell the Dragon, and then at least it's a wash, right? You've both used a card and you both have nothing on the board. But that said, if it sticks, it's a very strong play to make, and I think exploit is something that people are going to always be having to keep an eye on.
It is a very strong play to make, especially when you consider that it's also a droid. So on future turns, if you don't have a way to get rid of it, that could be what gains Sentinel.
Yeah, exactly.
As well. And then you have this massive wall that you have to crash through, and you probably can't at that stage of the game.
Yeah.
I really dig it.
The Coruscant Guard, a little bit less exciting. I mean, it's exciting to have a cheaper unit with ambush. That's always a good thing. That said, it needs coordinate to have ambush. That means you would already have to have 2 units on the board. So when this one comes in, you have 3 and it gets that ambush. So I don't know how readily usable it's going to be. You can think of it in a way in that it's like, all right, it's like a 3 damage to a unit spell. If you have 2 other units out, 2 for 3 is not bad numbers wise in terms of just doing damage to units. But it really makes me wonder too if we're going to see cheaper stuff that makes tokens so you can get that online fast,
See, when I saw this, I thought of it as it's kind of like a different approach to, what is it, Cloud Hopper, right? The 3/1
Cloud Rider.
Cloud
Yeah.
Rider,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
The cunning 3/1, yeah.
Yeah. So Cloud Rider 3/1 always has ambush. This you get an additional stat. The Cloud Rider has Underworld, which, don't get me wrong, is an important stat, or not stat, an important tag to have on the unit. But this one has 3 important tags, right? Republic, Clone, and Trooper, I expect all to matter at some point. We've already seen a lot of Trooper interactions in set 1. And then when you factor in that this is still like an okay turn 1 play, even if you can't activate the ambush, right? Like just a 3/2 is better than nothing, and it gets you going. I think that this is fine. I think that this is ultimately going to be the kind of fixed Cloud Rider. And I say fixed because Cloud Rider has felt really, really strong to me, and at least limited for set 2.
It's really good.
I think this will be that card for set 3.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, a 3/2 for 2 is okay as well. But anyway, you slice it. Exciting stuff coming out. I wouldn't say we're officially in spoiler season yet for this, but it seems like we will be soon. I mean, it didn't take long after set 1 came out for set 2 to start showing up. And now here we are a couple weeks into set 2, and here's set 3 coming in. But at least we get a good amount of time with each set. We get about, 3 months or so before releases, it seemed like, based on the set 1 to set 2 cadence. So I don't mind a bunch of new stuff coming in as long as we get plenty of time to play with what's currently available, Yeah.
So before we move on from the just kind of like news and announcements section of our show, there is one other bit that I want to make sure that we talk about, because I was really excited by some of these. Granted, there is not much we can infer at the moment, but we have the names of sets for 2025. So we know we're getting 3 sets a year. And the sets for 2025 were also revealed, and I
can actually
I don't know.
Put that up there.
I'm pretty excited. Yeah, if you're gonna get that up there, there you go.
That. Yeah. There we go.
Jump to light speed. Listen, I love space battles. I know you love space battles. I saw that and I was immediately like, okay, yeah, let's get excited.
It pretty much says ship-centric expansion, doesn't it? So that excites me quite a bit. Also, set 5, Legends of the Force, a Force, if we can take the title for the meaning, a Force-centric expansion, which doesn't sound that bad either. And then Secrets of Power, I don't know. That is an intriguing one.
Secrets of Power, like, because it's specifically like secrets.
Yeah.
I kind of hope that it is something that is based on the more, and what's the right word for it? A cult isn't quite the right word, but it's the closest that I have right now. The more kind of fringe sources of power in the Star Wars universe, right? So when we think about like the Witches of Dathomir, I would even argue maybe like Balin Skoll could fit into something in Secrets of Power, because even though he's like a Force user, he's more like a gray, undefined, stuff like that. And I could really get behind a set that kind of focuses on the more obscure things. It also could just be very similar to like Shadows of the Galaxy kind of being the underworld. Secrets of Power could also be underworld, because Secrets of Power could just as easily mean like influence, right? Like when you think about that kind of power. This could be the power from the Senate. Maybe that's our all Senate set.
All officials.
We're gonna get Jar Jar.
Senator Jar Jar. Yeah. I'm down. We got to have a politics set at some point, right? Just like we need a pod racing set. I'm just gonna keep saying it. We're gonna see. Just the set is just called Now This Is Pod Racing. It's so easy. Come on, Fantasy Flight. make my dreams come true. But it is exciting to see the names of the sets already. I like that. I like that they're giving us those names and just kind of teasing us with what the possibilities are. I think 4 and 5 seem very, obvious what the focus is going to be, but 6 is definitely less obvious. But I guess we'll find out next year. Yeah. Well, there you go. So on that note, or not on that note, I suppose, we have announcement, and then we have kind of our main topic. I want to do the announcement first. I want to do that. What do you think? Then we can move on to our main topic of building a deck is what we'll be doing today.
I've decided that I'm no longer calling this an announcement. I'm calling this a teaser, because you're right. Okay. Last week we did the announcement of an announcement, and so now I think we're moving to the teaser of the announcement.
This will be the announcement, though, because as this episode is available, the information about this will be on the Discord. So so this is kind of it is the announcement. It is the announcement. So we've been working on this for a little while, and we wanted to bring more content to Ice Cave Radio, specifically more stuff that involves our awesome Discord community. And so, may I present to you Conquer the Cave. And what this is going to be is it's going to be ideally a weekly King of the Hill style competition where we are going to take 2 people from the Discord and pit them against each other. The winner stays and gets a special Discord title at the beginning, other prizing perhaps to follow in the future, and then a new challenger comes each week. So it's going to be a webcam tournament, not even tournament, it's going to be a webcam event. So players are going to be expected to have a good webcam setup where we can see things clearly, and they can record their own footage so that we can then edit the 2 views together and make the video out of it, basically. But the idea is to kind of do this King of the Hill style event week to week in the Discord, hopefully draw some really good players in to compete, see who can last the longest, so you can get that multi-week record going and see who will be the conqueror of the cave, right? And I think it's going to be a lot of fun, because I know we've got a lot of good players in the Discord, and this is a good opportunity to let people show off.
I'm really excited because I think that it's going to be fun for the community. At least I hope it's fun. I hope everyone who participates has a good time.
Yeah.
But I'm also just really excited because I love the idea of people having, bragging rights.
Yeah.
I feel like there's as much on the line in terms of prestige and bragging rights as there is for anything else. And the fact that this is something that's going to carry over week to week, I don't know. I'm kind of hoping that people really get into it.
Yeah, I want to expand the prizing on this as we go along, but initially it's going to be a special Discord role that you'll be able to show off as long as you keep the title. That's the thing, is it's always up for grabs, right? Week to week, we're going to have a new challenger come in. So the question is, how long can you be the conqueror of the cave and hold on to that title? That's going to be the struggle here. And it's going to be a best of 3 format. We're doing standard tournament rules here with this. Regular deck size, 10-card sideboard, of course. The big thing being that, we have to have people with good webcam setups and that are ideally, solid players too. Obviously, we're looking for people that are a little bit more experienced with the game to participate in this, because we want to have good matches to show off. So basically we'll have these recorded. Then Charmer and I will cast it, and then we will release it to you to watch, and hopefully we'll get a lot of good matches. Should be a lot of fun. So as you watch this, if you're watching it on Saturday, I think I'll put this information out there on Saturday. I'll have a post on the Discord with all of the details, all the tournament rules and everything like that. So if you're listening to it now and you're interested in participating, go and check out the Discord. If you're not a member of the Discord, definitely join. There's a link in the description for the video, I think it is, if you're watching on YouTube. And if we're going to gather a bunch of names first. We're going to pick semi-randomly, more or less, and then we're just going to go, right? Winner stays, new challenger comes each week, and over the course of the weeks and months, we're going to have a lot of fun, I think. And one thing I want to do too is, this is farther down the road, but after we do this for a while, I want to have a tournament where we take everybody that had at least 3 wins in a row or something like that. Once we get 8 people who had 3 wins in a row, and have them play a little mini bracket or something like that, and find out who the true champion is, right? A tournament of champions, if you will. So there's a lot of fun stuff we can do with this. Hope you all enjoy it. Again, first step is get the info out there. Second step is gather names. Then basically 2 weeks after, we're going to hopefully get the first games played and then go from there. So yeah, excited to add this stuff to the Discord content. We've been wanting to do competitive content for a long time now. And I think this is something neat, something unique, and something where, you, our viewers, get to show off, get to show how good you are. So that'll be fun. Yeah. All right.
My biggest regret is that I can't just be the dominant winner week to week to week.
Right. That's just the price you paid, right? We had to make that decision.
Listen, I'm willing to make that sacrifice for the community. Okay.
That I appreciate that. I wouldn't want to have to do all this myself, So there you go. Can you conquer the cave? You'll have your opportunity soon. So now let's move on to our main topic, which is we're gonna build a deck. We're gonna go over to SWU, and we're gonna build a brand new deck. And Charmer and I were talking about it. And we were thinking, what's a leader that we haven't really seen solid decks come out of yet? Maybe people have tinkered with it a little bit, but we haven't really seen anything, I would say, notable come out of it. And the decision we kind of came to is to do Gar Saxon. That'll be our leader of choice. Again, a leader where, if you looked at it, he looks like he has fairly solid abilities. Giving +1 attack to upgraded units is theoretically strong, but how do you put all that together in a way where it's consistent, where it it's threatening, where it can go toe to toe with some other decks that maybe kind of get that kind of thing online a little bit sooner? He's a beefy unit. He's a 4/7, flips on 6. He's in blue, so that gives you a lot of safety right there. So I guess the first question, Charmer, is what do you think we should pair with him? I think the natural inclination is just go red, because that's where a lot of the Mandalorian stuff is. But do you agree? What do you think?
Yeah, so I was about to say, I think that the biggest decision you have to make when you are building a Gar Saxon list is, are you looking to be the aggressor, or is this something where you are potentially looking to kind of take over in the mid game or the late game?
Yeah.
And the reason that matters is because I think that red is the most natural inclusion. Not only is there, the Mandalorian options there, but there's also some aggressive upgrades that you could choose to run in your list if you want to run those as well. I don't want to sleep on green, because you do have some decent upgrades in green as well. Like the one that jumped out to me is from set 2, Legal Authority, right? It is removal and an upgrade, so it's like kind of doing double work in a Gar Saxon list. And then if you also go green, you have access to Overwhelming Barrage, which is just never a bad card. Whether or not you want to play Energy Conversion Lab would be, I think, up to the goals of the list, but I wouldn't even consider it for that. To me, it was literally like, you have Darksaber, you have Legal Authority, and Overwhelming Barrage, and those might be enough to make me consider green anyway. I do think red is the most natural spot, though.
I think red maybe offers the most punch, but I saw this talked about a little bit in the Discord too, and it's been one I was thinking of, where you can go Fen Rao into Legal Authority, right? And that can be one of your sort of like late mid game, early late game punches, right? Where you can really swing the board by playing a big character like Fen Rao and, stealing one of their units or capturing one of their units rather.
And maybe killing another one with the -2/-2,
exactly,
right? Like that is a huge play. And that's exactly why I was like, man, green is tempting anyway.
So should we go green? Because I do feel like the natural inclination is to go red. So should we go green just to be slightly contrarian, or what do you think?
I would love to approach the green.
Let's explore green.
The nice thing about Gar Saxon is, unlike Bo-Katan, you don't have to go the Mandalorian route, right? Yeah. You can make use of some of those really strong Imperial units. And so things like DJ Death Star is still really strong as well.
Now the question is, do we go ECL with this? Is there a big reason to go ECL with Gar Saxon? I don't think there is really. ECL is always you know, it's always a nice thing to have in your pocket, and I do feel like the meta has slowed down enough to where having a 25 health base isn't as threatening as it was in set 1, where you just had these really, really aggressive decks like Sabine, you know?
Yeah.
So but I'm always hesitant about just going ECL by default, right? It's good, but I need a reason, you know?
So we'll have to wait and see how the deck fleshes out. Right now, my initial inclination is I think I would still like ECL, if only because there are a couple of key plays. Now, again, it's going to depend on whether we're including them, but there is a couple of key plays when you are running a more mid-range or slower deck that I think are really, really good, especially on the villainy side.
Yeah.
One is against your really aggressive decks, like if you do get paired into a Sabine or something, if we decide to run Consortium Star Viper or any Restore unit for that matter, whether it's Del Miko or whatever, having Restore on an ECL can be a big deal. But the other two that jumped out at me as potential candidates are Rook, because Rook also will...
He's upgraded too.
He'll get the benefit from the shield with the upgrade. He'll serve as like removal with the ECL. The other one that I think has a lot of potential in Gar Saxon is Gideon. So Gideon Hask is somebody who every time a unit is defeated, you can just give an experience token wherever you want.
Yeah.
And so that's like +2/+1 every time you kill a unit, like to your stuff.
Yeah.
So if you have Gideon with ECL, right? Gideon's a 5/5 for 5, which is also not bad. And being able to like have him come in to wreck a unit and then also, you know, buff up another unit or do something like that, I think also has a lot of potential.
So we'll just start off with 3 Gideon, because I like that.
Yeah, I do really like him for a Gar Saxon list.
What do you think about Fen-Rao? Because I know we talked about that as well. I feel like that's another potential ECL candidate.
Yeah,
that's another 3.
Yeah, no,
right?
I think Fen has to be a 3 of. Same thing with the legal authority that we had talked about.
Legal authority. So when you build decks, do you go through category by category, or do you just go like this, where you think about, well, this sounds really good, this sounds really good? I tend to go category by category, where I'll start out with like ground units, and I'll go to space units, and then I'll start culling, right? Then I'll start kind of thinning out the deck list.
Oh, so that's interesting. I do it more like this, as opposed to category. And my only reasoning for this is because, you know, legal authority and Rao are a great example. When I expect 2 cards to work together, I don't want to forget about one or the other.
Sure.
Right?
Fair enough.
So I just think about like, what are the situations where I think I can have a powerful play? So like Fen-Rao with legal authority is potentially a massive play, right?
Right.
So I would just throw those in.
So
Similarly, Overwhelming Barrage, still a hell of a card, right? So even though we're not on events, like I would just throw that in. And that's just usually how I go about it.
All right, sure. Fair enough. Another thing that, another card I've really liked a lot is the Electro Staff. I think it's super underrated. Just being able to give something, have something always have -1 when attacking into you, and just a +2/+2 or plus 2/2 for 2 is just good stats, you know? And with this, it's 3/2 for 2. So I think about things like Moisture Farmer and Electro Staff, where it's like suddenly my Moisture Farmer is a 3/6, and stuff that attacks into it gets -1 attack, you know? And that's another thing too, is I'd kind of like to play this deck a little bit slower and put like Moisture Farmers in this, because like you said, you don't need to run Mandalorian in this at all. It's just upgrades.
No, you don't.
Yeah. So what do you think?
If we're gonna do it that way, then I'm fine with Electro Staff. I was just about to say, in my mind, Electro Staff is competing with the Mandalorian armor. So it's one of those like, if you're running a high Mandalorian count, I think you want to include Mandalorian armor. But if you're not gonna commit yourself to that, then I would prefer Electro Staff.
And it doesn't seem like we're really committing to Mandalorians right now.
No, not with the way we're envisioning it. I do like the Moisture Farmer kind of slower path anyway, because again, if we're going to run Gideon slapping experience tokens on a Moisture Farmer is also really funny to me.
Yeah.
So continuing that trend makes sense. And then I would want some amount of brutal traditions. I don't think it has to be a 3 of because it keeps coming back. So I think a 1 or a 2 of is fine, personally.
Because that is another 2/2 for 2. We'll put 2 in there for now.
Yeah.
Do we?
Also don't.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you don't want to, so this is an interesting thing. You want to run upgrades, but you don't want to go overboard, because I imagine what's going to happen here is we're going to run a fair number of things that also give out experience tokens or shield tokens.
Sure.
And we also, I think, still want some room for some additional events. And with that in mind, we don't want to be too unit light. So like event wise, just thinking off the top of my head, if we're in blue, takedown. And I like to run at least a 1 of Rival's Fall, even in my main decks, and then maybe put more on the board. But just because there are some leaders that you just can't get rid of without a Rival's Fall. So I like having 1 as an emergency button in case I get paired into like a Chirrut or the Boba Fett's that run his armor. Like if they actually land Boba Fett with his armor, you're not killing him without Rival's Fall. Just like full stop. So.
I think you could put like 1 in the main deck and then 2 in the sideboard, or maybe even just 1 in the sideboard too. One card that I feel like we need to include 3 of in this is Traitorous, because it steals a unit, and the unit you steal is going to have +1 attack because it's upgraded.
Yeah.
So I think that's
I love Traitorous.
Easy choice for me, because it is Traitorous is essentially a unit, right? Even though it is an upgrade in your deck, it is a unit for you, but it is also removal, and it is also a buff from Gar Saxon. So I feel like Traitorous is an easy one to include there. Also, think about this too, is that with Gar Saxon out as a unit, if your thing that you have Traitorous on dies, you get the Traitorous back in your hand.
Yeah.
So you get to play it again.
Traitorous I love.
Yeah.
That is... it's the same reason why I like Legal Authority as well, right? Because you can just keep chewing through things. So I like this as a base. And then I think now we're at a point where we have a good chunk of upgrades and events, and we don't want to go, too unit light. So here is where I would start filling out my space and ground units. Usually, anyway, I would start here. So I was gonna say, I know we want the Moisture Farmer.
Yeah. What do you think about Dr. Pershing? I don't mind him because he can deal damage to himself to draw a card. And in this deck, because you are maybe a little bit more upgrade heavy, you might want to increase that card draw, and then give yourself either more upgrade options or just draw the units you need. Not to mention you can upgrade him, and then again with the +1 attack, he becomes hard to remove attacker too, potentially, right? I'm on the fence about him, but...
My biggest issue is he doesn't do anything to help my board state early, and since we're already going to be a bit more late game focused, I'd rather have things that help protect me. So I'm on the side of like I like cards like Pike Sentinel. I like the Client. I think is actually great for this because he's shielded, which counts as an upgrade, and then also his like, hey, I can heal from my base. The healing is going to be really important, so I'm a fan of him.
Let's see. Childson, actually, because Sentinel, and he gets experience tokens, so he does that +1 attack, and he's a big Sentinel theoretically. How much vigilance will you have? I guess all of our units so far are vigilance.
Yeah, I mean, I do expect us to be more vigilance heavy, but there is going to be some like I still also I really like DJ Death Star. I think being able to ramp off of ECL is also really strong. So yeah, Super Laser Technician. I was trying to think of like green stuff that I would want to run. I was just about
Dark Trooper.
Phase 3 Dark Trooper, I think. On the one hand, it theoretically is pretty easily answered, but on the other hand, if it's not answered in one fell swoop, it becomes a real problem.
Yeah. And I mean, it is a card that needs an answer, right? So it's one of those cards where it's like, okay, it kind of feels like an extra 3 health on my base, if nothing else, or it feels like discard a card because I have to use a card from hand to get rid of it,
On the space side of things, I still think Inferno 4. I was just thinking about low curve stuff, right? So like Inferno 4 is your best 2-drop.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then the only other one that you might consider, and it's so weird, I would never consider this in like any other list, but Outland TIE Vanguard is like not terrible in Gar Saxon. It's the, what is it, 2/1, but you can buff something that is
that's true.
Small.
Another thing that costs 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if I would want 3 of them. Yeah, I don't know if I would want 3 of them, but I think a 1 or a 2 of is good enough just to get you some space presence and then also buff stuff. On the higher side, I think Clan Saxon Gauntlet is insane. So I think we for sure want to include that.
Just to review, that's the one with Sentinel, the 4/5 for 6. When it's attacked, you may give an experience token to a unit, which means
and that resolves before the damage is dealt.
Right, so you can give it to itself too. So it can become a 5/6 when attacked, or you can just have it give an experience token something on the way out.
It's a 6/6 when attacked.
Oh, you're right. Because of Gar Saxon.
Which is again really relevant when they are like trying to fire spray. So
very true, very true. So we're at 47 cards right now. And I don't think we need to go super heavy space. We have enough to slow down the space arena between Inferno 4, Outland TIE Vanguard, and Clan Saxon Gauntlet. That's really kind of all you need, you know, unless you're playing against a deck with insane heavy space. But that's where you start using your takedowns on space stuff, then fine, you know, or overwhelming barrage too. So I think we have enough answers for space.
The only other space unit I would even like consider running, and even if I did, it'd probably just be, it might even just be a sideboard card, but like Avenger. Like if your games go long, Avenger's a hell of a closer.
Yeah, just like put 2 in the sideboard.
That as a sideboard. Yep.
Yeah, I could see putting 2 in the sideboard. What do you think about Survivor's Gauntlet? I'm trying to remember exactly what that one does. That one when
played.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when played on attack, you can move and upgrade from one unit to another, but it has to be on the same like side. So you can't steal somebody else's upgrade to your side, and you can move stuff around on your own.
Yeah, it's kind of expensive too, so I don't know if I'm a huge fan. On the event side of things, what do you think about, I don't know if we need timely intervention because we're really wanting things to be out there and then be upgraded, so we don't really want to be ambushing too much.
I was gonna say on the event side, the only other one I would consider running would be Power of the Dark Side.
Yeah, that is just such strong removal. Yeah, I could see that. Because we are, you know, when we're playing Gar Saxon in green, we are sort of on the higher end of mid-range, is sort of what we're leaning towards here. So Power of the Dark Side is a great card for that because, you know, we're playing a deck that says we don't really mind not playing a unit on resource turn 3. We're fine just removing one of yours.
Well, it's also one of those ones where, like, even if you don't play 3 copies of it, just having it in your list forces your opponent to play around it, right? Yeah, you want to make them second guess, like, you know, blind deploying their leader into, you know, an empty board, that sort of thing. You want to force them to respect it. So,
you know, I'm not necessarily super opposed to maybe running like 2 commands in this list. Because the idea of giving 2 XP to something and then it essentially gets +3 power to what it have, and then you get to use that power against a unit for the other command ability can be theoretically pretty decent removal for 6. Because you do that and then you still get to attack with whatever you buffed. You know, it's always ramp as well too. It does cost 6 because we're green-blue instead of double green. But I think it's worth considering because it does synergize. The experience tokens that it gives does synergize very well with Gar Saxon's ability. It just might be overkill on the removal side, right?
Like I think it might be, can we go up? I just wanted to see what we have for our cheaper units again real quick.
Sure. We do maybe need a little bit more. We don't have a lot of turn 1 plays. We have Inferno 4, Pike Sentinel, and Moisture Farmer.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that we might need like one more. I mean, theoretically, Outland TIE Vanguard fits that, but I would also be fine with cutting those to just put in another turn 1 play.
The Outland TIE Vanguard, it costs 2, but it's not really a turn 1 play because you have to give the token to another unit. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. If you're looking to cut something, I think that one's probably what gets cut to put in more turn 1 stuff.
Yeah. There's Vanguard Infantry is kind of interesting because it does give an XP when defeated. So you might be able to do some kind of fun tricks with that. I actually don't really mind. I kind of just like Salacious Crumb in general because he can just be annoying to deal with. And if we're upgrading things, and that makes it more...
yeah, it could be that.
Yeah,
I was
maybe.
also kind of eyeballing Incinerator Trooper.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's definitely one that benefits a lot from upgrades.
Benefits a lot from upgrades, and unless they specifically have... so like the only way that you're punished if that's your turn 1 play is if you're going first, you play Trooper, they play a 2/3, and then you're not just immediately taking the initiative.
Yeah.
Because then if they have the ability to, that's like the only time. Otherwise, if it's a 3/2, you can still get the attack off.
I mean,
if you have initiative, you could play an upgrade. Like I think that that's a really solid opener.
What's funny is Incinerator Trooper makes me want to run this in yellow because I'm thinking of like snapshot reflexes in Gar Saxon with Incinerator Trooper, where it's like now I get to attack for 4, and then and I don't take damage back if the defender's defeated. So now I want to go and build a Gar Saxon cunning deck. But let's finish this one first.
Yeah,
we're at 53. It's like, what can we maybe cut? I don't mind cutting the outline Tig Vanguard.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think that's a cut.
And then maybe we go down to 2 Fenrir maybe, or 2 Overwhelming Barrage. We have a lot of removal in this deck.
If I was gonna cut any of those, I would go to 2 Power of the Dark Side before I'd go to 2 Overwhelming. Overwhelming is such a swing. Yeah, it's such a swing turn.
Fair enough. Could do that. So then that leaves us with let's see. Leaves us with
I was gonna say the other option
there.
is you could cut 1 Brutal Traditions to have that go down to 1, but I like having that as a 2 personally.
I don't like running one-ofs in decks unless it's like something very expensive, because then you just might as well not have it in the deck because you just can't count on it ever in a game situation.
Just draw better.
I don't though. I can't. I can't draw better. That's not possible. Let's think about the sideboard really quick. I feel like since we're going for a longer game, we have to include something like a restock. Couple restocks. Or do you go 3 or do you go 2 usually when you run restock?
If it's in my sideboard, it's a 3 or nothing, because I either want so many that I can like loop them and not feel
fair enough
like I'm in danger or not.
I just don't play decks with restock, so.
Yeah, I mean, I typically don't, because the other option that you can take with this list is if you're worried about another slower deck milling you, my go-to is instead I go with 3 Relentless in the sideboard, and my game plan is to just be the first person to slam down Relentless.
Yeah.
Because then that causes them a lot of problems.
Fair enough. Would we run that in this deck, though? What do you think about Take Captive?
So this is maybe a hot take. I am not a huge fan.
I don't know if I like it in this list, because this list you're going to want to be doing a lot of on the board trading. I like Take Captive in lists where either you are just the aggressor and they have to attack into you, so you're just kind of trying to get something out of the way for a turn or two, or you're playing a deck that's like just super slow, right? And you're putting the captive stuff on stuff that they need single target removal cards to get rid of because it's just too big to trade into effectively. So for this deck, I don't think it'd be super great.
The only time I think I would ever be okay with playing Take Captive is in any lists I'm like running Grogu in, because I want to be able to take captive and then also have like additional ways to protect my unit. And so if you're running something like a Grogu, your Take Captive is live literally from the turn that you can play it through the rest of the game, because 5 health is pretty healthy. And then any time that they want to attack into it, you can just exhaust their best unit first, and then that's going to force them to have hard removal for Grogu. But
the way I think of Take Captive is in aggressive lists, because I like running it in things like aggro boba and stuff like that, is that essentially I'm paying 3 to, just temporarily remove a unit just so I don't have to worry about taking that damage for 1 or 2 turns, or I don't have to worry about a sentinel, but I'm also effectively paying 3 to make one of my units sentinel, because they're going to have to remove the unit that captured the other unit, So it's got this interesting sort of like dual function where you're temporarily removing an annoying unit on their side, but you're also influencing their decision making, right? Because now they have to change their game plan to take out that unit that captured something. And in an aggressive deck, that just gives you so much freedom, that I like it in that sense, But again, I think in this list, I'm not a big fan, but I do like that card overall. I just think it has some nuance with using it.
Yeah. So for me, the only like remaining question that I have, and this is why I wanted to look at what the cheap units were earlier. Is this a list where we are wanting to run either Darth Vader or Maul? Because those are like quintessential, villainy 7-drops, and for good reason. But I could buy the argument that it might not be worth it in a list like this, because when I'm looking at the cheaper units that we're going to play with Darth Vader, like, yes, obviously any additional units are better than none. But realistically, your best pulls are either the Phase 3 Dark Trooper or the Client, right? Is that enough for us to like cut additional synergy cards just to jam in like a value play? Probably like not. Vader, or do we stick with the plan? I think I stick with the plan here, but
yeah, I agree.
I don't. That was the question.
I don't think we play Vader in this, because again, like just like you said, he doesn't have enough good targets to grab. Maul, maybe.
Yeah, my biggest problem with Maul is that we don't have a lot of like underworld stuff to get his secondary effect, so he's really just an ambush overwhelm, and he doesn't have like any inherent upgrade synergy either. I know you said you don't like one-ofs. If there was something I would like to put a one-of in here, it would be that pirate battle tank, because I really like having smuggle stuff that I can easily resource and then just pop out later if necessary. But
well, that is funny, because the only thing I think that's the only cards that I actually agree with running one-ofs are smuggle cards, because again, you can just plan on having them sit in your resources if you see them until you need them. What would we take out though? That's the thing.
I don't know. I was just thinking out loud. I do like having like an on-demand sentinel to thwart plans, but the problem is we're at that point where it's really hard to cut stuff now.
Right.
Don't have a lot of early game we can really cut, and all of our late game is built around our Gar Saxon synergy. So
we have 20 cards that are 2 or less.
Yeah, but that's deceptive, because a lot of them are upgrades. They're not real 2-drops.
Exactly, yeah. So really, we effectively have 9, 12? We have 12 cards.
That's usually where I like to be. In the if it's a slower deck, 9 to 12 I think is fine.
Yeah, I think it's okay. How do you want to finish off the sideboard? We need 3 more. Do we want to put in like some Fell the Dragon or something like that? Or do we want to put in some healing maybe? So I think every deck needs an answer to Crate Dragon right now. So is that maybe Rook in the sideboard so we can ECL him in those games where you're playing against like a Han that's getting a Crate Dragon out super fast?
Yeah, I think that's probably your best bet, because not only do you get rid of the Crate Dragon, but you do so in a way that honestly, like, that's a fantastic thing, because the Crate Dragon is it's not giving you immediate value in that it's a 10/10 overwhelm, but obviously when you play a card, they get to deal damage to something. So you want something that's going to be cost effective. And so it's, it's 1 more damage that you're stuck taking with Rook as opposed to Fell the Dragon, but you get a lot more flexibility for other matchups, and you're left with a unit left over, right? So if your idea is, I need something for Crate Dragon, I think Rook with your ECL is one of your best ways to do it.
Yep. Doesn't die to create dragon when you play it either, which is important, due to the shielded and to the fact that it has one more health and cost. So that's pretty big. I think my daughter is hungry or something. I don't know.
She just has a lot to say about Star Wars, man.
That's right. She's like, no, don't put in Rook. I'm like, no, I think Rook's pretty good actually. She's only 13 months. She doesn't know what she's talking about when it comes to Star Wars Unlimited. Come on. What a noob. I think this is a decent list. I think
can't wait till our Discord starts posting Werner Herzog saying, "I want to see the baby."
I want to see the baby. I can't believe we have Werner Herzog the card and Bill Burr the card in the same Star Wars expansion.
Yeah,
that is something. But yeah, I think I'm fine with this list right now as far as like a version 1.0.
Yeah, no, this is I think good enough to, go to the testing phase, right? So like if I was building, I would say like, hey, I think this is a great starting spot. Let's throw it at some different things and then see if anything jumps out as a weak point or, one of the biggest things I find about deck building is that this would be fine, I think, as a skeleton. It's more so the stuff that like you're not anticipating that catches you by surprise. And then you come back and refine for like, oh yeah, if I run into a Ray heavy restore deck and maybe I'm struggling against that, what do I do there? That sort of thing. But you won't know until you run into it.
And just also accepting that every deck is going to have bad matchups. It's pretty much impossible to make a deck that's going to have a great matchup into every single other deck, So you want to just try to do the best you can. But yeah, I think this is a good list to start off with. Like I said, I want to go build a cunning one later. This kind of has me wanting to try Gar Saxon this week at my locals. But why not? We'll see. But yeah, I think this is a cool, solid list. We will do some testing and get back to you, or maybe you at home, if you want to build this list and do some testing, let us know how it went for you, either in the YouTube comments or in the Discord, preferably in the Discord, so we need more Gar Saxon discussion going.
Before you go, if you're going to build a cunning one, do not forget the blaster that you can play from Smuggle. You can just never play the aggression version.
The hotshot blaster.
You'll still get the attack, like the reflexes as well. So
yeah, it's super cool. I'm like kind of excited about trying to build this. But for now, I think we'll have to end the episode. I think this is a decent. It's a good version 1.0. I think it's solid. And people out there, they want to test. I just love the idea of Traitorous with Gar Saxon and being able to return it to my hand as well. So it's pretty exciting. Getting Traitorous
it just
back.
seems really dirty.
Yeah, it does. All right, maybe I'll try this list tomorrow. My local's tomorrow, so I'll do some Gar Saxon and put the results on the Patreon. We'll see. Either way, any final thoughts here before we end the episode?
I'm just really excited about this game.
Me too. There's so much to explore yet.
I guess my final thoughts are I can't wait to see somebody play this at the cave events that we're going to be running. That'll be the full circle moment.
Yeah, right. Yeah, get excited. Look for that information in the Discord for signing up. I'll have like a Google Forms or some way to sign up, and then we'll collect names and pick the first two players. So yeah, that's what we'll do. Oh, I'll throw it out there too. The idea is that once we know the matchup, you'll have a week to play your game, to play your match, your best of three. So we're trying to do it in a way where it's not too much of an immediate time burden on people too. So it should be good. But yeah, that's going to do it for this episode of Ice Cave Radio. Thanks everybody for watching. Like, subscribe on YouTube. We're getting so close to 1,000 subs, and it'd be really awesome to cross that threshold. We're also getting closer to 500 people in the Discord. Would love to push that number even higher. We've got so much great conversation going about different deck lists and things, and we've really got conversation about everything in that Discord now. Everything SWU related, even down to like a channel for parents with kids to talk about either playing with their kids or lamenting because they don't have enough time to play because of their kids, or just the realities of being a card gamer in that era of your life. There's a lot to talk about. There's something for everybody there. So definitely join the Discord And yeah, that's it for Charmer and I. Charmer has one last line to bestow upon us before we go. So go ahead.
May the Force be with you.